Hello and welcome to the In the Money Players podcast. This is our show for February 28th. It's a Friday. We're covering the races of March 1st. It's a first Saturday. What does that mean? That means big racing from Gulfstream and Santa Anita. On the audio side, we'll have it all covered in one. If you're watching on video, we'll have a separate video talking about Santa Anita. Loads of stakes, Kentucky Derby, prep action, etc. Free tips and analysis coming in hot. Coming with me, PTF in the Brooklyn bunker once again, and our man in the belly of the beast, Jonathan Kinchin. JK, how are things, my friend?
Things are well. It looks like the weather's might be nice outside. I mean, look, I'm not too much of a person that gets too caught up in the weather, but when you're here in the greatest city in the world, it can be a little bit. It just matters a little bit more. Like I used to, I grew up in Texas, where and spent summer after summer after summer in Texas coaching high school football, doing two-a-days when it's 110 for 28 days in a row. But whatever, you go inside and you get in the AC. But this city requires you to be outside more. So when it's not comfortable, it just hurts a little bit more. And then they do two things here that are really annoying. One, what we do in Texas, we blast the AC when it's hot. They don't blast the AC when it's hot here. It's just still hot inside too when you get inside. It's just hot everywhere. We blast the AC inside. The other thing that they do here is when it's cold out, is they blast the heat inside. So here I am, who's layered up because I have to deal with the outside. Then I come inside and you want to smack me in the face with 78 and I'm sweating and it's just a nightmare. So, but
it's hard to dress. It's hard to dress.
Yeah.
I'm a little tired today. Perrin had her Radio City Music Hall debut last night, singing in the chorus for the live orchestra version of Return of the King, the third of the Lord of the Rings movies. I don't know if you're a big Lord of the Rings guy, but I was a very proud papa last night watching her sing her little heart out.
You know, it's funny. I went to Dave Chappelle at Radio City a month ago or so, and I saw the Lord of the Rings thing. I'm assuming that's what she was in.
She was in it. She was not on the poster. She didn't quite make the poster just yet, but maybe in a few years.
She got a lot of life left. We'll give her some time.
Very, very cool stuff. And the film held up well. I don't think I'd seen it in 20 years. It still has about 5 endings too many, but it's very, very good stuff and super enjoyable. I would definitely go do. I recommend if you've never done that, seeing a film with the live orchestra playing. It's just a cool experience. I did that out in LA a few years ago, seeing Psycho with the live orchestra. Very, very entertaining thing, but not as entertaining as the horse racing we have coming up for you on this Saturday card. Let's dive right in. We're going to do the late pick 5 from Gulfstream on Saturday. We've got other coverage of this sequence, loads of written stuff over at inthemoneypodcast.com. Go check that out. All free, all good tips and analysis from me and the rest of the team. We mentioned already there's a Santa Anita video going to be coming. And we've got Jerry Bailey and Randy Moss going to be talking about the two big ones. They'll be covering on NBC. Check local listings for exactly when they'll be on. And YouTube, by the time this video posts, it will probably already happen. So check the archive for that video as well. We'll dive into the very one. Grade 3 action for the fillies and mares. We're going a mile and 3/8 with this field of 9. JK, what numbers do you want to start things off in the very one?
Yeah, so the La Prévoyante or whatever is what they ran on Pegasus weekend, and we were paying a lot of attention. We were hanging out with our friends from Qatar Racing. They had Queen Regent in there with their stable jockey Oisin Murphy. Brendan Walsh was hanging out with us, who had the winner in Forever After All, who's also a Connect. Shout out our friends at Lane's End. And so I felt like my eyes kept wanting to go back to those two. I thought Forever After All really figured it out, what this horse likes to do. I like the inside draw for this one. You'll get a confident ride out of Tyler Gaffalione, save ground all the way around there. And in these races where the distances get a little bit longer, I think when you can save ground, it makes a huge difference on how intense your turn of foot is when you turn for home. So I want the 1 and the 3 for certain. And then I also wanted to make sure that I use Christophe Clement as well with the 8 La Mahana. Yeah, horse broke slow last time. I thought ran well in that same race. So give me those 3 horses out of that race on Pegasus Day.
All right. I definitely respect the runners coming out of that race. I have both La Mahana and Forever After All as a B. I actually rate La Mahana slightly higher than Forever After All because I felt like she got stuck in that vice in that race for longer, whereas Forever After All had the clean run on the outside. I think I rate them about equally. This time, Forever After All drawn better. Anyway, I want them both as Bs. But you did not mention a couple of horses that I really like from Graham Motion's barn who are appearing here, who I can tell you stories about, starting with Beach Bomb, who wasn't beaten all that far in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare, a race that looks a little bit better after Cinderella's Dream came back to run so well last weekend. Beach Bomb G1 winner back in her native South Africa, yet to get a particularly good setup. That last work seems to signal readiness. A word from the barn, very positive on that one. I also keep coming back to her stablemate number 9, Blush. And this one has a little bit of a hidden angle that wasn't noted in the race chart, but she ran off before that last race. And that energy, that hyper energy was evident in the early stages when she was pulling, acting a fool. This time around, she was not ponied to the start there. She will be ponied to the start this time. And this is another one where if you go back 2 races, no chance in the Taylor after that bad break. So you've got really good French form here. 2 races that look bad that aren't really bad. Or let's put it this way. They look worse than they are. I think Blush could surprise at a big number in this spot. 5 and 9 on the A line, 1 and 2 on the B line for me. Can you see those motion runners? If you squint, can I convince you to work them onto your tickets, or are you going to be stubborn?
No, well, I mean, there's a what the horse playing is the highest level of stubbornness that's possible, right? I mean, that's why we got into this game, because we thought we were smarter than the guy sitting next to us. I don't have a problem necessarily with those two. I just fell in love with the form of the race that was already in South Florida, and I'm okay hitching my wagon to that. I wouldn't talk you off. I'll talk you off of one too. If there's one that I don't like, I love to give you a reason why you're wrong, but I don't see that here.
Let's go to race number 11, Gulfstream Park Mile, Grade 2 action. The enigmatic and incredibly talented Mindframe. I'll never forget watching that last race in Saratoga, JK, and where I was sitting in the lane. I was sitting in that spot at the top of the stretch where you see who's going to win. You see the momentum with your naked eye. And Mindframe had the race won to the point where I was like fist pumping, like this race is over. He threw it away. Wasn't the first time he threw it away. He makes me a little crazy, I gotta say. But remember him too, physically, right? I'm sure your colleagues, I'm still not sure if you know which end bites and which end kicks of a horse, but with your talented team on America's Day at the Races, I'm sure you heard people talk about the size and scope of this horse. He's supposed to have gotten better at in the transition between age 3 and age 4. He's in the hands of a master conditioner who you got to figure has figured out what was going on in this horse's head to these antics that he showed. So look, he's supposed to win. On the other hand, it's just a starting point, and sometimes you can only test so much in the mornings to replicate race day conditions. Look, he's on just about every ticket. Question is, how much of my money total am I willing to run through him? The answer is most of it, but not all of it. I do want a little bit of Steel Sunshine in here as an alternative. This horse is the opposite of Mindframe. He does not have the ceiling of Mindframe, but I think he has a considerably higher floor than Mindframe. That's something that's going to work him onto some tickets for sure. Encino, I suppose, is worth talking about. If Mindframe blows the start, if something goes completely wrong with Mindframe, could Encino be completely loose in this spot? I'll have the tiniest bit of 3-7, but I'm mostly running it through the 1. How much of your money are you content putting through Mindframe in the Gulfstream Park Mile?
Well, I'm not sure that the reason he was goofy was not because of what ended up leading to being the injury, right? I mean, maybe that's why he was goofy. Maybe that's why he was getting out the way that he was. It's one of those situations where I think if you use Mindframe and use other horses, and you do not, this is the key part, and you do not have like a super sexy opinion elsewhere, you're wasting money and you're wrong. If you want to protect your super sexy opinion elsewhere, your 10-1, your 15-1, your 20-1, your loving 2-5-1 shots, great. Protect them with if Mindframe gets beat. Or I'm sorry, using Mindframe and then using others just in case he gets beat. but if you're trying to direct hit this, for me, Mindframe ran 4 races in his lifetime as a 3-year-old that were better than anything in here's ever even sniffed at. And I actually think using Encino is kind of crazy. For Encino to win, it has to play right into the hands of Mindframe. And I'm not mad at your Steel Sunshine thing, but I don't need any of them. I'll be ice cold with this one. Todd can get one ready off a break. He had this one ready off a break. I think he'll have him ready again.
He's supposed to win. And to clarify, I'm talking about 80-90% of the money and, maybe one backup line. And I don't know. I keep going back and forth. I didn't originally have Encino. I do see a scenario where Mindframe like either doesn't blow the break or does blow the break, where then if you told me Mindframe wasn't in the race, I would be using Encino. So that on some tickets with Steel Sunshine. So that's how I came around to that one. You're not wrong. If nothing else, Mindframe is supposed to make sure that Encino doesn't win. So, I mean, we're talking about a very small amount of money that I would be left running through him. And I agree, the wrong thing to do would be to use them equally. I wouldn't be doing that, and I wouldn't recommend that. Let's go to race number 12, the Honey Fox Grade 3 action, the hinge of this late pick 5 on Fountain of Youth Day. JK will throw the ball right back in your court. I'm spready here. What kind of conviction do you have?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm spready. I'm using 4. I'm not like crazy spready. I think to me, like spready in my brain is like using 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 7, 8 for me, and I feel like I can get through this race. Pounce, I thought, was very fortunate. She caught that Dylan Davis hot streak up at Saratoga. That's the last time she's won. 1, 2, 7, 8 are all I need. I thought the 1 and the 2 both drawn well. The 2 see around with IRAD, gets the tactical speed with IRAD drawn inside. I think that's helpful. And then the 7 and the 8 I thought made the most sense in here. So 1, 2, 7, 8 was all I needed.
That's funny because it's the exact same 4 horses that I have, and it just shows you a difference in our brain. Like 4 for me, I try to be pretty surgical on these shows. Probably also my, TV work that I'm doing over in the UK is requiring me to pick one horse very often. So anytime I'm giving you 4, I'm calling it spready. Tax implications, I just thought ran well against the flow in the Matriarch. Funny one where you see a Chad Brown runner at Del Mar at 20-1. You have to remember that she was the other Chad Brown runner that day. Big drop in class here as a starting point of the 25 campaign. Might be getting set up to run bigger at Keeneland, and I'm not sure there's enough pace to set up her run, but still an 8 for me on the class. 8 in our time. Clear pace play, has plenty of races. Good enough. See you around the 2. Less than 2 lengths from winning one of the most prestigious Group 1 races for fillies in the world back in France. Clement looks to have her headed in the right direction. And Special One, the 7, bits of interesting form in Ireland. Looked overmatched at Grade 1 last time, but was in the hunt at the pace call. And sometimes when a runner's in the hunt at the pace call in a Grade 1, that drop in class is going to do them a world of good. Yeah, 1, 8, 2, and 7 for me in no particular order. We are in lockstep there as we head to the race that gives the day its name, and we'll put you in the solo box in the middle of the screen, JK, to hear your opinion on this year's Fountain of Youth.
A lot of these, they look the same. They look the same. Look like horses that are, tactical enough that they can run around in a high 80, mid 90 types. I'm going to stick with my boy Burnham Square. I think this horse is pretty good, coming from connections and Ian Wilkes, who don't necessarily have just tons and tons of success with these early 3-year-olds. He's not a trainer that's rushing horses around. He's not a guy who's got a bunch of owners that are it's Derby or bust. I think when he has one that gets him there, the horse takes him there. And I think that's what's happening with Burnham Square. I think he's talented. He's trending in the right direction. He's got a style in which I trust. He can be forward. He can stay connected, but he also can sit off and run past horses. The obvious other is going to be Sovereignty, who has some okay numbers compared to this group now as a 2-year-old. So you'd like to think there could be an improvement there. But for me, I'm going to try to beat Sovereignty. I feel like they're going to try. They're going to take this horse with a guy for Bill Mott, who very similarly to an Ian Wilkes, he doesn't have to see the ball go through the hoop here. He needs this horse to run 3rd or 2nd, set him up perfectly for the Florida Derby or the Louisiana Derby or the Bluegrass or the Wood Memorial, and then get him into the Derby to peak and run his best race there. So I'm going to use the 3 as a single A. and then I'm going to use the 6 River Thames as a
Oh my God, River!
single
Did you just say
game.
Thames? Thames.
Is that what it
Come
is?
on. How long?
Thames?
You've been to England? What's going on here?
Yeah, but I wasn't looking at the river. There was one time I was looking at the river, and it was very scary. I went on that the London Eye. Was terrifying.
Yeah, that's the Thames. You were looking over the Thames. Anyway.
Well, see, I go to the other side. I usually spend a lot of time on the other side of London, where you go to the Thames. I don't go to the Thames. I go to the Thames. It's more, the Thames is more for tourists. The Thames is more for like the locals.
I see. Mr. London over here giving us the scoop. So it's just 3 and 6 for you. Any other numbers?
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Just 3 and 6. It's funny with these big races like this. I feel more confident often singling horses in these bigger races because you just have a lot more information. You know a little bit more. You know the intent. You know that they're gonna. Yeah. And I feel like Burnham Square is just going in the right direction. And the fact that Ian's decided to run this horse back in this spot too, and not just train up or give a space in between, I think suggests that he's doing really well.
He's sharp. He looks tough. I'm sticking with Sovereignty. Maybe I'm being stubborn here. If I didn't make a Derby list at the end of last year with him on top, do I pick him here? I can't confidently say yes. And I know what you're saying. Like, they'd be very thrilled with a hard charging second in this spot. And that might make this a foolish pick, especially because the short stretch finish line here at Gulfstream doesn't always favor closers. But I'm going to be stubborn and pick 2 of them as my top 2 picks in here with Sovereignty and Burnham Square. I cannot eliminate your River Thames idea as potentially the best speed. But I also think Keep It Easy is a little bit interesting. Seeing Brian Natto's morning line educated guesses here for the first time, 8-1 might be worth it to take a little shot with Keep It Easy, just because that Swale Stakes was not Swale Stakes. It was the Ed Brown Stakes at Churchill was so strong. And that's a 2-year-old number. Any kind of improvement from that one, I think he could find himself in the mix as well. So I'm kind of absurdly spready in here using 4 in an 8-horse race, but I just don't have the strongest opinion. For the record, Sovereignty, my top pick in the race that gives the day its name, the Fountain of Youth. We'll see how it plays out. Much more on that in our Jerry and Randy video. Make sure you subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel. That's the way to make sure you get all our exclusive content. Click that notification bell too, so if the algo doesn't serve it up to you, you can still find it easily. And let us know in the comments who you think is going to win this year's Fountain of Youth. Let's get to the last race we're going to be talking about from Gulfstream on Saturday. The McDermott Grade 2 turf action going 1 3/8. Big full field in this one when it comes to this late pick 5 on Fountain of Youth Day. JK, how are we going to get paid?
Yeah, Miss the Cut's going to be my top choice. I'll use a couple of others in here. To me, this isn't necessarily like it's not like a negative trainer change. It's the relationship that John Sadler and David and Gordo and Cherie DeVoe, and it's a quality road. It just feels like, let's try this. Let's try to get this horse to the East Coast and try some of the East Coast races, a little bit more opportunities. Maybe they like a little bit more give in the ground, miss the cut. No pun intended. Maybe they want some cut in the ground. So I feel like this horse could take another step forward, miss the cut. So I wanted to make sure I had that one as an A. Cash Equity I'll use as a horse as well. And then Grand Sonata is one for Todd Pletcher, who just kind of always knocking on the door at this level. But I think actually kind of gets a little bit of a group that feels a little softer, right? No Rebels Romance, no Far Bridge, no Fort Washington. Just feels like a little bit lighter than what Grand Sonata constantly runs into. And I feel pretty confident being able to get away with it there. And then I will use Cathkin Peak as a B horse. I remember last race, this horse just was aggressively ridden. Almost like one of those, we got a plan, we're going to go to the front, we're going to try to wire the field, one of those situations. And the pace was blazing fast. I think with a more comfortable trip, maybe you can see something a little bit more similar to what we saw up at Saratoga this summer.
9, 3, 4, and 8 on the A line, 11 on the B line for JK. Willing to excuse the Ascot experiment for Miss the Cut, which I don't think is wrong. That was 6 months ago, and the horse was way in over his head, and still caught a lot of money in there. Really, to be 11-1 in the Hardwick for Miss the Cut should be seen to better effect here against South Florida turf. foes than ones who are racing so near the Thames last time out in the Berkshires. Let's give you my thoughts on this one. And then I have a general question for you in the sequence. I put Segoy on top. I thought was just very good at that run at Sam Houston. I like that the Tory ends up here. This horse has tactical speed and is going to get a great trip. So we're in agreement on that one. Grand Sonata, I really like. Looks to be a little better going these farther distances. And I felt like might be set for a peak effort in the third start of the meet. I wanted Cash Equity on side. Ran well from that tough draw last time. Getting back to something near his best. And I think should be able to get a good trip. Safi Joseph does not have good stats in turf marathon stakes, like shockingly bad, but this horse is going to be the kind of price, I think, where I still want to have on side. And then Dashman stepped up in a big way to win that McKnight with a perfect setup and trip. Probably a last time was the time horse, but I did think was going to be a big enough price that I was going to go ahead and throw in as well. We did get an excellent question from one of our new ITM Inner Circle Plus folks, JK, about a horse other than Mindframe in the sequence you'd be comfortable singling or pressing. I'm guessing from the way you describe the races that might be Burnham Square, but I was curious if you had if that's a good read, or if you had another you might want to throw out there in this late pick 5 as a potential single other than Mindframe.
Yeah, I'll try to say this, to make it make sense. Sure, yeah, I think Burnham Square would be the obvious one since I kind of single aid him there.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that it's not a horse like Missed the Cut for a couple of reasons. One is because if I can get alive to Miss the Cut, I have more options because he's the last horse. He's a better price. If I can get alive to him, I'm sitting on some equity that I can make some decisions of what I want to do. If I single Burnham Square, miss, and then Miss the Cut, and then Miss the Cut, I'm going to be very frustrated that I singled a horse in an up-and-coming 3-year-old race and eliminated my opportunity to pick up value. So there's two different ways to look at it, depending on how you want to approach it, what your goal is.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, on the surface, it's probably Burnham Square. Who do I trust the most? Probably Burnham Square.
Right. I'm not sure exactly how our man was asking the question, but that's a really good point that sometimes it's smart to go back. We talk a lot of times, if you're just playing a caveman ticket, if you're just doing it for fun, that's cool. But if you're like trying to do it efficiently and doing that, you're doing it wrong. And the idea that you go back and find a value horse to single in a certain set of sub tickets, that's a really smart way to play. And then you can take a reach at a price like you're suggesting there. We've got a lot more coming for you on the show. Go ahead on YouTube, click another one of our videos, maybe even the Santa Anita one that will be coming up directly on the audio side right after this.